class is in session, I'm gonna need you to refer to your Quran for this lesson. What is self-concept and how can it transform your life and enable you to live your dream life? I have two reference points for you today. The first one is hadith number 15 from Hadith Qudsi. You can find it on sunnah.com. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I am as my servant thinks I am. Another translation of this hadith in English is that I am as my servant expects me to be. Either way, in this Hadith Qudsi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us that the way we conceive and think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is directly correlated. In fact, it is equivalent to how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala manifests in our life. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of our thoughts. The human mind is fickle, right? Like, it's impossible for us to fully comprehend Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So our comprehension of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is basically based on what we can see in the world around us. For example, when we think of Allah as merciful, we think of him as merciful when he gives us a good job, when he gives us a righteous spouse, and we're like, wow, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so merciful. We understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy through the worldly manifestations of that mercy. In fact, we are more grateful for the blessings than the blesser most of the time. There's nothing really wrong with that. That's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the world for us to experience. But let's hold that thought and go back to my second point of reference today. Get your Quran and turn to chapter 13 verse 11. Says that Allah would never change a people's state of favor until they change their own state of faith. And another translation for this that's really common is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not change the condition of a people until they change the conditions of themselves. Again, self-concept, the way that we conceive ourselves and our state is exactly related to how the world around us manifests. In chapter 57 of the Quran, in verse 20, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, know that this worldly life is no more than play. And at the end of that same verse, he says that the life of this world is no more than the delusion of enjoyment. I need you to focus on the word delusion here. Who deludes us? Does God delude us? Does Satan delude us? No, we delude ourselves, right? So if the dunya is an illusion, which is exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us, then what creates the illusion in our minds? Our thoughts. And this connects back to the hadith that we discussed in the beginning. Our thoughts become our reality. Some people might be like, Sheba, like, you're going too far with the metaphysics here. No, let me be really real with you right now. There's a poem from an Afghan Sufi poet. He says, he says, this world is good and there's no bad in this world unless there is bad in you. And I used to understand that poem as like, yeah, do good and everyone will do good to you, but that's not what he's saying. He's saying that if your heart is pure, meaning there's no bad in you, then everything in the world is good to you, because you understand that even bad things exist to make the good good. The good wouldn't be good if there wasn't a bad for us to compare it to. If bad is what makes the good good by comparison, then how can we say that the bad is bad?